right, folks, and we're back. Today we're lucky to have Cait Cammarata, who's a producer, director, dramaturg teacher at Baruch. And we're here with Cait to talk about the state of theater as we exit this pandemic, keeping our fingers crossed. Cait, welcome to the show, and thank you very much. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
First, thank you for having me, Roger. I'm always enjoying any conversation with you. So right now, the pandemic, we're all trying to find out what the next step will be. And I kind of feel that this pandemic, this pause, has been a great boon to development because I work with a whole lot of writers, right? And they found this to be such a creative time.
I think what happened earlier on, there was that state of shock, right? Oh my God, what now? All these plays that were in production, all these productions that were moving forward, all of a sudden had a halt. And people like you would say, you keep developing, you keep writing. Is that what you're seeing with the people you work with your clients and colleagues? Do you see, this new level of comfort with developing?
Absolutely. Because we're all creative people. And for us to be healthy and mentally healthy, physically healthy, we have to have that expression and creativity. So actually, the first week of the shutdown, the first day, actually, the shutdown happened on a Friday, right?
I believe so.
That Wednesday, I held a reading in Ripley Greer. And then Thursday, I had an investor event. And then Friday was the shutdown. So it's like, whoa. But I had been working online with writers in Australia, in Europe, all over the US. So I was already set up with Create Theater on the back end. So kind of that first week I went, you know what, don't wig out. We are going to have a reading series. All right, so this is going to give you a goal. It's going to keep you focused. It's not going to let you escalate downward. So I gave everybody a reading. I'm like, okay, so now you've got something to focus on. And every Monday night, we started Zoom meetings. I think we were actually the first person to do it, the first company to do it. Now everybody does it, so being first doesn't matter. But I found it kept my writers focused and kind of like, I think it helped them psychologically to remember who they were. And nobody knew how long this was going to take.
Right.
And so we just kept going pretty much every Monday night till the end of the year. And so at the end of the year, I had to try to draw back and try to figure out, okay, what are we going to do? Just like everybody else.
For me, the biggest stumbling block turned out to be a blessing, which is this, Zoom. And I was actually looking for something like Zoom. And then it was clunky at first, but now I love Zoom. I don't know if you had any experience with Zoom or if you were doing maybe Skype or FaceTime or something, but how do you feel about the technology and how all of a sudden we're doing other things that actually work?
I'm experienced on Zoom. In 2020, I did almost every reading on Zoom because I felt, to me, not just the work, because I'm a developmental person. I dwell in the land of development. And what's really important is the talk back and the audience reactions and, all the delicious feedback you get from the actors and all these aha moments. And that's what's really valuable to the writer. So I found that engagement really important, and it could happen on Zoom. And people didn't have to fly in. And but my only problem was, as we got so big and I had to expand, then I got Zoom bombed a couple of times. And that really, if you've never experienced the Zoom bomb, it's terrifying. So
I haven't. Tell us about that. I don't know what that is. I've heard of it.
It was foul. It was rather traumatizing to me and some people in my audience because it was just awful. And I just didn't want to do that anymore. So I've experimented with live streaming on YouTube. And, but that's why I'm upping my game with all of my toys that I'm buying that I was just showing you before. So I'm going to do a mix of YouTube because it's a great way to be discovered and, to get your work out there. And even if it's unlisted, that it's a repository so that the writer can send the link to anyone, right? So it's valuable. But live streaming takes some investments, and I'm doing it. So
tell us about that live stream. Give us an example of how it would work.
Live streaming is only when you're ready to expose your baby. now, since it's going to live there, and it's something that people take as, everybody's used to YouTube. And if you put it up there, they can settle back, put it on their big screen in their living room, and really have a theatrical experience. It better be ready, the script better works, and then you better have a editing and, all of that done to give people the full experience. And that's what I'm going for in Create Theater.
In addition to the YouTube live stream, and you say it is an involved process, what kind of things do you look at when doing a live stream that maybe other people haven't paid attention to?
Well, let me be clear. Live stream, you can do easily on StreamYard. You can live stream from Facebook. You can even live stream from Zoom if you want to. Live stream between two people or for conferences or webinars or teaching platforms works really well.
Right.
If you want to give a theatrical experience with music, especially, the audio is compromised. And if you're a musician, you might not like what you hear on the Zoom, even the Zoom webinar platform. Live streaming is better for that. So if you really want to have all of that capability, especially with audio, you really have to use OBS or Ecamm or some other RMTP that just takes it and keeps the quality something that the audience would expect. Otherwise,
I'm curious to know, where are you with some of these clients? Are you ready to go live? Are you still in a sort of mixed, mode, meaning you use technology, virtual as well as live? Give us a sense of that and what they're thinking.
Well, again, since I mainly am in development, I have some projects that were ready to go. And one of those projects that we were actually working to bring to Broadway, now there's such a bottleneck.
Oh, yeah.
There's a bottleneck in the regional. Yeah. Anything theatrical, there's a bottleneck. So we have to find another way, right? We have to figure out and use our creativity to think of something different.
Right.
So right now I'm looking at presenting these stories using immersive techniques, site-specific, of course, because there's a lot of storefronts, and I'm not just talking about New York. I'm just talking about, because I have clients all over. And LA is one. St. Louis, I believe, is coming up. And Brooklyn, of course.
Yeah.
If you look at the storytelling, one of some cool ways that you can really make the audience lean in. You have to think outside the box and how to present something to an audience and go to them. So I like to think about restaurants, performing arts spaces all over the country. They have these great atriums, and then that can become another source of revenue for the theater. So I'm working on that in St. Louis. I'm working on a restaurant in LA, right? I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to go to in Brooklyn, but I'll figure it out really soon. So the other way is the one that was ready for Broadway. We are thinking about actually putting it on a live streaming platform.
Interesting. Now, in terms of the bottleneck, you talked about the bottleneck. When do you think things will start to go back to normal based on what you've been hearing in your experience?
We're trying to, everybody I'm working with, we're sort of like anticipating 2 to 3 years.
And that seems like a very long time, but in a development scenario, that's not. What do you say to playwrights who want to develop a play? Like, what, in terms of time frame, what kind of advice do you give to them and say it's going to take 10 years, 5 years, 4 years?
Well, you usually give the typical answer 5 to 7 years. It depends on what you're shooting for. What's your goal, right? If it's Broadway, it might take 7 or more years, right? Because there's a lot involved. I tell them not to concentrate on the timeline and instead concentrate on every single developmental step, right? Because that's where you're really going to get the traction. I try to manage expectations.
Yes.
And instead to value the journey and value each developmental step. And hey, on the way to Broadway or off Broadway, wouldn't it be great if we then, for instance, right now, the Theater Authority is a great contract. And as soon as I realized that the Theater Authority was out there and I could use that for our Monday nights to get donations for all of these little theaters, like out of New York, and actually get donations for them. Oh my God, that does two things. Not only does it help the theater, and God knows we all need help, right? Second, it actually creates a relationship between the writer and that theater, and they're more likely to give a slot when it becomes available to projects and writers that they know, like, and trust. So it's actually working out really well, and I can feel good that I'm helping like the entire ecosystem and keeping my writers sane and moving forward at the same time.
So I'm going to ask you a question which is sort of to the side of what we've been discussing right now, and it's a question that I get a lot, mostly from novice playwrights and people in theaters. Tell us what a dramaturg does, and tell us, how it affects the development.
Wow. Okay. So the famous quote, I can't quote the person because right now I'm forgetting who said it, was, I can't point to anything specific in the script, but if you prick the script, it bleeds me.
Oh, wow. Okay. Explain that. Tell me more about that. That's a great
Because blood circulates throughout the entire body,
blood.
and the creative ideas and the suggestions at different moments in this process will just influence the entire body of work.
That's
But it's hard
fabulous.
to say, oh, well, that was my idea. Because I'm an advocate of the playwright. That's what I really think a dramaturg's first and foremost responsibility is, that it's not
Exactly.
my work. It's my job to take that creative idea of the writer and make it into everything that I see it could be on stage. But, I propose, they dispose, and whether, so
Right.
it's all different, but it's fun. I love being a dramaturg.
From an acting point of view, right? The director never wants to give line reads to the actor. Do this, do that, say it this way. And I think the parallel is the dramaturg doesn't want to say, change this line, change this scene. Just, sort of point them where they should go using their own talents,
Yes,
and to create, something that maybe makes more sense that they're not seeing. Is that right?
absolutely. And the dramaturg is also like the bookish person. I'm the geek in the corner looking up this and that, you know. But that actually serves you well because you've got a big frame of reference and context to draw upon. So when I was an undergrad, I was a directing major because I started out as an acting major, and my professors at Syracuse were always like, no, you think like a director. I'm like, okay. So yeah, I mean, act in like one little viewpoint of an actor. I wanted the whole thing. And then I got an MFA in dramaturgy. And that's even bigger than being a director because now I'm able to incorporate all the non-textual languages of a director and then actually cement it into the ideas of the playwright.
I love that. I think that's so cool. Do you find that this new technology, the Zooms, videotaping in actual locations of a scene, for instance, are going to be tools that producers in theater are going to be using for a long time? Tell us your thoughts on that.
I don't think that's going away because there are several advantages. One, I now don't have to just work with somebody who can come in person, right? I can work with people all over the world, and I do.
Yeah.
Right. Second, if you want to develop something, you don't have to just hire actors from New York. A lot of New York actors are dispersed anyway, right? I can hire actors from a global acting pool. Yo, that's great, right? Then secondly, how many workshops have you done? Well, as a producer, when you do a workshop, it's a lot of time, expense, and money.
Yeah.
And it's ephemeral. But if you're able to do a 3-camera shoot and edit, yeah, you do have to pay more money, but you've captured it. Or a performance or something. I am so grateful because now I'm teaching. I have to give all of these examples to my students, and they're all looking from captured performances all over. But how much has been lost? I mean, the big ones are always going to be captured live. But
Right.
my work, in this developmental level. And then lastly, writers find it very helpful when you record a session, because then they don't have to be, concentrating on taking notes, and all those delicious aha moments that you come to, they can look back and digest and write down, and even readings, So it's here to stay. I think it's primarily useful as a developmental tool. Theater will never go away. It's been here since the Greeks. And
Yeah.
after the shutdown, do you remember that after the English theater shut down, the Elizabethan age ended, and then all of that mess, and then Restoration comedy came back, and it was extremely different. It was immoral. It was funnier, and so we're going to have a change when we come back. I know it. I just know the creativity of human beings. I'm looking forward to it. Writers gather from all over the United States on a weekly or a monthly basis to work together, and they learn from each other. I mean, the community just got a lot more focused, and it expands New York, because suddenly now people from all over the country can feel like they're part of New York theater, and they know people who can get them into a theater and, get them a reading and invite all these New York producers and people. That's great. Isn't it great?
I think it's fabulous.
So it's just creativity, and we're creative people. So there's going to be a lot of expansion. And getting back to Zoom, I'm really pushing this hybrid new medium that's Zoom, but edited, because it's not that expensive. And you can put it on YouTube and have that theater experience created through the editing and all these other different tricks. But it's meant for theater. It's meant one day to live on a live stage, and you don't want to lose that. You don't want to have like a film experience, because we're not cinema. The storytelling is completely different. So I'm pushing this hybrid, and that's the only thing now. Starting on Monday, actually, April 19th, Dash will be presented on Monday Night Theater, Create Theater, and it's fully hybrid. So there's editing, and it's really cool. It's about the political situation in Nigeria in 1976. And it's very theatrical. It's not going to be a film, but it's really cool. I hope you tune in.
I hope to do that. And one of the things that you said just now really, really excites me. And that is, I'm a filmmaker, but I haven't made a film for decades before this, because I kind of got into theater. And then this idea that you can actually take two actors who are doing a scene in a kitchen and put them in a real kitchen, and not film it like a movie, but film it like a hybrid, recorded version of what they would do on stage, maybe change the blocking a little bit. And I find that extremely creative, extremely fun to do, and expands on my experience. So I think that's definitely something people should look at. If someone were to reach you today and say, we want to hire you to help us, fix our script and develop it, what are kind of the first steps that you would recommend, now? And again, I'm assuming that what you would recommend maybe a year ago was slightly different than what you would do today. But so what would you tell them?
I'm telling writers that if you are finding it difficult to reach out and get in touch with a theater, by the artistic director, associate artistic director, reach out to the literary manager.
Okay.
Make that person your best friend, take them out to lunch, because they're largely ignored, and they have an extreme influence on the inner workings. So hire a dramaturg, hire a literary manager, and you actually might be able to save yourself a few readings. So there's that. Speaking for my profession. So if you want to get in touch with a dramaturg, what's your next step? Are you getting ready for a reading? Are you getting ready for a workshop? Because the dramaturg, and they're all different dramaturgs, right? Will take that sense and try to envision it on the stage. And there might be 100 things I want to work with you, but I know you're not ready to hear 100 things.
Right.
I want to get it to the next step that you need to be at. So the 3 largest things that will make the most profound influence. That's what I want you to work on. And I've actually stopped doing one-offs, because it's not productive. I sound like I'm pontificating. I don't have all the answers, but instead it's this rhetorical process. We can have a dialogue and ask questions and go through the script. And then when you get the aha that I'm trying to pull across, that's the most delicious moment ever. And then you think it's your idea. because it is, because you're going to mold it and until it fits your creative expression. It is. That's what I mean. It's like pinch it and it leads me, but it's really your work. It's your body.
Right. It's your creativity. Right. As we get to the close of this interview, and I thank you so much for this, so many insights that you've offered today. Tell us a little bit about what you teach at Baruch as far as theater.
Right now, I'm an adjunct and I'm at the lower level. So it's kind of good because you get to give them a smattering of whatever you want. And so one of my favorite courses to teach was always play analysis. So I've
What?
approached a play analysis.
I'll play it now.
Right? I'm a dramaturg. I'm a geek,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I love to teach structure, main storytelling structure. I start with Aristotle, then I go, and I throw some Shakespeare in, blah, blah, blah. But I always end up with musical theater because there is a definite musical theater structure. And I expanded it to 10 plot points, and I have them be able to analyze those 10 plot points, or at least 5, right? Then it gives them a set of tool set and questions to ask to go in and enjoy a musical more, because whenever you know something more about something, you enjoy it more, right?
Sure. Exactly. I think that's wonderful. Now, if someone wanted to reach out to you and get in touch with you about the many different things that you can help them with, what's the best place to find you, and how can they reach you the fastest?
Cait, I spell my name with a C. Oh, it's right up there. So
It
Cait
is, yes.
Cammarata at gmail.com is really the easiest. Also, you can look at my website on createtheater.com. I have a caitcammarata.com too. I'm all over the place. So just reach out, social media, whatever, smoke signal, I'll find it.
Well, I thank you very much. This has been very enlightening. I hope that the folks out there, you know, just don't stop developing, don't stop creating, enlist the help of people like Cait, who can help you at different stages of your your work, and get it out there. And I wish you the best in getting those shows to Broadway eventually, right? Getting those shows wherever they need to be, and keep moving forward. I thank you for your work in theater, Cait.
Likewise, Roger, you've been a great contributor to New York theater. So thank you.
Thank you very much.